I don't know. I don't really crave roasting anyone. I only want to roast people who want to be roasted. So there's no one that I'm like, oh, I wish I could just dismantle that. It doesn't like bring me joy to hurt someone's feelings deeply. It's not fun actually.
Well, that's really nice of you.
It kind of sucks.
I'm Zach. That's Nikki Glaser, everybody.
Thank you. Hi.
You're something else.
Really?
Yeah, you have a great energy.
Oh my God, thanks.
And I gotta say, your longtime boyfriend's amazing.
Wait, how do you know him?
It's really weird. And I just realized that
Wait a second.
I know him like maybe 30 minutes ago. It's so funny. It's so funny. What?
I'm having this flashback to when I was going to interview someone. And so I was watching them being interviewed on your show. And he heard your voice and saw you and was like, wait, why are you watching Zach? And I was like, because I forget. And now it's all coming back to me. He knows you. How does he know you?
He's the best producer for TV I've ever worked with.
He is.
I was a young, overweight kid being shoved into like outfits to host things on Nickelodeon. He was one of the producers, like the first time I ever did the 2012 Kids' Choice Awards pre-show.
Wait, yes.
And he's had the same Facebook default photo for the last.
Yes, isn't it Prince or something or a
No,
piece of pizza?
it's a piece of pizza.
Yeah. Yes, it's either of those two things.
He's fucking incredible.
He's awesome.
And I had no idea he was your boyfriend. Literally, I found out 30 minutes ago. I was
love
like,
that you
holy
love
shit.
him because he and acknowledge like what a great producer he is because he's someone that I like. That's part of our relationship is that he really guides me and helps bring out the best in talent and makes me feel safe and makes me makes me feel like I can do anything. And I was just watching that. Have you seen the J-Lo doc? The doc about the thing.
doc.
Yes, the doc. Because there's another one too that she did where it covered her going to like this performing at the Super Bowl.
But this one,
and I like that one too. But I was always like, I was always where everyone is with J-Lo now. I was there for years. And like, kind of like, ugh, this is so phony. And like, what is this? And I'm over it.
Let's unpack that. Where did where did your inclination come from? Really?
Of course. That's where it always comes from.
Pop star jealousy?
Oh, God, yes. I mean, like anyone who, by the way, can sing and she can sing. Everyone can say all day that she can't, but she can't. Maybe not like other people. But she can sing.
Totally.
There's no question about it. And she can dance. And she's a fucking amazing performer. There's no question about it. So I think that also, and someone who maybe I looked at her as like, oh, she's getting by on just her looks. And that's a thing I'm jealous of as well. Like it's always, anytime I judge someone too harshly and have like a real vendetta, I feel like it's just like, I'm just jealous and want to be them and wish that I was more like them. But then I saw that The Greatest Love Story Never Told. And I watched it to be like, to feed my feeling that I already had about her. But it dismantled it.
What?
I'm like so team J-Lo. I'm sad her tour is canceled. It was so funny. My boyfriend sent me the news that her tour is canceled because he knew what a J-Lo head I'd become overnight, literally overnight. I watched the This Is Me Now twice. Like, it's crazy, but I'm into it.
I feel like
I'm on board.
I feel like society and culture went one way, and you just go, I'm going the total opposite.
I wanted to go that way with them because I was already that way. Like, I took out a chunk of my special. I was going to do like a whole bit in my special about how we shouldn't trust anything she sells us because she's so hot. Like, she wants us to be ugly, so don't use her skincare because she's trying to mean girls us. Like, she's giving us foot cream. Like, it behooves her that we stay ugly because she's hot, and that's hot people need us to not be hot so 100%. That they have value. It's just the way it works. It's like the capitalist way of looking at things. And I took it out because I was like, it's just mean for no reason. And I don't know, I was kind of already starting to soften on her. And I'm just always open to changing my mind. And I went into this actually wanting to, I saw the TikTok clips of her doing the like, oh, this is me, I'm a little girl. This is me in the Bronx with her hair. I can't do it because I have hair extensions in. So I'm fake too. But
pretty good.
But I watched it and I was like, oh, that scene actually worked for me in the context. When it's taken out of it and you read all the comments making fun of her. She looks crazy. Because you read the comments and you see all the people making fun of her and how many hearts those comments have and you go, that's how I should feel about it. And I fall for it. But when you watch it without all that, you're like, okay, this is just a person who has worked through a lot of trauma that they went through as a kid. And maybe her trauma isn't as crazy as anyone else's, as Ben Affleck says in it. Like, it could just be just emotional negligence as a child, which I went through as well. Even though I have amazing parents, they just didn't like, my feelings didn't get felt. And so I rebel in different ways and need to be heard and have this kind of low self-esteem because of it. Not because they were bad people, but she was kind of grappling with the same stuff, kind of came to those conclusions about it and was like, I want to write an album about this. And I found the love of my life that I reunited with, that I was always kind of in love with. And she wanted to share a story. And it was just, it wasn't, I liked that she just went and took a chance and then ended up paying for it herself because she just felt it so much. And who cares if people like it or not? She paid for it. It looks amazing. That whole Heart Factory thing, we can make fun of it all day long, but it's well done. The taste level is there. It's funny. It's like, it's crazy. And I remember seeing, Rob Anderson, he like makes fun of things on Instagram. He made fun of This Is Me Now, and he does a really good job of it. And it's really funny how he talks about, like, she works in a heart factory, and the pedals are what keep the heart alive, but they're also, like, we don't really know what it's generating, so they have to dance for the pedals. And he's, like, really, he made fun of it in such a way that I was like, I can't wait to see it. And then I watched it, and I was like, yes, this is crazy and a little outlandish and a little, like, over. I don't even know how to describe what it is, because I would like to do something just as just insane someday and not care what people think. And if they don't like it, like, okay, I can handle it. I've been through worse before. That's kind of how she handled it. And I liked it.
But you have a deep appreciation for artists that can really create something out of nothing. But it seems to be connected to something deeper, right? As
vulnerability.
Vulnerability is, I mean, come on.
Authenticity and vulnerability, which I think she did show in that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it?
I watched it, and I went to the premiere. It was it was interesting.
Well, when she gets rejected by all those celebrities that she wants to play this, like, she didn't have to include that. Like, a lot of people read that script and go, no, I'm not doing this. And she's, like, getting no's every day. She could have cut that from it. I'm sure there's other things she cut that were more embarrassing than that. But I thought she showed us some things that were like, oh, J-Lo's maybe not on top of the world in the ways we thought she was. And I just thought it was vulnerable. And so I'm like, you know what? Good job, girl.
Are you vulnerable when you're up on stage? Or are you in control?
Yeah, I vacillate. I think that when things are fresh, when there's material that's fresh, and I'm throwing something out for the first time and I don't know if this is relatable, maybe it is just me, that's when it's vulnerable. Like, I'll say something and I don't know if they're going to laugh at me or just not laugh at all because they're just like, ew, what? You do that? Or if they're going to laugh and be like, have that recognition of like, oh my God, that's so true. And that's the best feeling, because then you go, oh good, it isn't me.
Mutual understanding of each other.
Yeah. Like recently I did a joke about like having, like, sometimes you go to the number 2 and you like rush too fast to get back to your table because you want to make it seem like you went number 1. Because I can easily go, I can go number 2 in public, not like in public, but in public's like bathrooms. I have no problem. I have no problem. I know so many people do.
I went 15 years without going number 2 in public restrooms.
15, and what?
I was scarred when I was 10.
Wait, how did you get over it? Did you get hypnoptized or something?
No.
Did you go to a professional?
Honestly, nature. Like, I had to do it. Like, it was either that or like have, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was like I have two options.
Exposure therapy. Like, where were you? What was the bathroom?
Oh, Universal Studios Hollywood.
I was thinking Del Taco or Baja Fresh. Okay, Universal Studios. Okay, you're stuck there.
It was rough though. It was rough, and I had gone a very long time without going to the bathroom. It was a big deal. Anyway, respect the fact that you can do that.
So causes a lot of anxiety.
Totally. Oh my God, I would like carry Alka-Seltzer with me. Like, I had a lot of like crutches just to get through existing in a day.
But even, I guess, your body, you can kind of tell your body if you don't feel safe going to the bathroom in a public restroom. You can almost tell your body, like, we're not doing it yet. And it can, like, when I go to Era's tour, which I've been to a lot, I've never once had to pee the whole time.
Really?
My body's just like, we're not doing it. We don't need to hold it. It's just not the time. I've never even had the urge to go pee during those, sometimes 4-hour shows because you're there before.
But you're distracted.
Yes, I'm distracted, but people do go, when should I go to the bathroom? And I've gone with people. People have to pee during it. My body has never wanted to pee. And then when I get home, I suddenly then I have to pee. But like, I was so worried going into those shows, like, I don't want to miss a second. Okay, I have to plan when I'll go. I was like looking at the set list, kind of deciding based on where I was sitting, when was the best time. And it's in 12 shows, I've never once gone to the bathroom.
What?
Yeah.
Sweet Prince, that's impressive.
Yeah. That's a long time. Yeah.
We respect things like that around here.
Thank you. I couldn't believe it. Like
Holy shit.
I used to the first 5 shows I was like, you got to go right before and make sure you don't drink too many fluids. But now I'm like, my body just knows what to do at Eras Tour. It has no demands for me.
Can you explain to me your Eras Tour experience? Are you like a black tenter with like the director's chairs? Are you out there?
No, I would love to get in that black tent. Are you kidding me? No, I'm paying to go see her. I'm doing it. I've found some ins along my journey because I talk about it publicly. So, and it's not even been that really that has gotten me the ins. It's just been people going like, why are you paying? We could probably email this person. And I'm like, I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to bother her. I don't want her to think I'm trying to get a deal. Like, I'm happy to, but I end up paying the ticket price. But I have paid StubHub prices a lot and paid a lot of money, and and I will continue doing that because my life. I'm very successful financially. I really don't. Just in terms of like, I don't own anything. I don't even own a car. I don't have kids. So I was just like, this will be my thing that I spend so much money on. Like, people buy $100,000 cars like nothing.
So right.
And then I go see Eras Tour 5 times and people are like, how could you do that? I'm like, that is not even close to as much as you spend on that stupid thing. Like that, I was test driving cars recently and I'm like in it and I'm like, I don't care what it looks like from the outside. Like, I know this car looks cool from the outside, but I can't tell because I'm in it. So I just want the coolest car inside. I don't care what it looks like on the outside.
So what are you going to get?
A Mercedes. I'm gonna buy a $100,000 car, which I'm right now. I've never owned a car. I've always like rented leased Priuses.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. So I'm stepping up, but
That's
yeah,
huge.
yeah.
That's
I haven't been
nice.
to Eras in a while, so I've saved up some money. I take a little break.
Hello, beautiful human. Every year, millions of gamers experience IGSS, inadequate gaming setup syndrome. Luckily, a cure has been found. You have to go beyond with the Vibrasonic mattress by Beyond Sleep. This thing has 6 built-in subwoofers, USB ports for charging, LED lights so you never stub your toe. It gives you an acoustic massage when you want it, plus adjustable degrees of comfort. This right here is the best way to game ever. Cure your IGSS today at BeyondSleepTech.com.
Can you explain to me that like your first understanding of who Taylor Swift was? Like, when did your relationship with her music begin?
Okay. It began in, I think, 2007 when my roommate at the time worked on the Warner Brothers lot and she got tickets to go see Ellen. And she went with her friend who was in town and she came home and she was like, there was this girl on the show today and they gave us these calendars of this girl. And so the Taylor Swift calendar from 2008, probably calendars, 2007, was sitting on my coffee table as like a joke for a really long time because I had no idea who she was. And it would just be something I looked at when I would like binge eat cereal at night when I got home from shows. And I would just kind of like flip through it and be like, who is this girl? No idea that she would be the most important woman in my life someday. So that was my first time being like clocking her. And then Red, I think, was the first time. Oh no, I drove across the country to move home. I like had been on the Tonight Show, but I was not doing well out here. And so I had to move back to St. Louis. So I remember driving across the country with my friend. I really got into Love Story and was like, there's something here. Like, that was when a seed was planted of like this song, something special about it. And I think I'm obsessed with it. But it didn't get crazy until 1989. And I went to see Red Tour. She like invited me and my friend Sarah Schaefer, who had a show on MTV at the time, to Red Tour backstage. Like, her people invited us. And we met her, saw her show, was blown away, but like didn't become a Swiftie until sitting in my bed. And I think when 1989 came out, first night it came out, heard Blank Space. And something like shifted. And I just remember, it's like one of those, I just remember where I was when I was like, this is who you're obsessed with now. Like, this is who this person means a lot to you and will forever mean something to you. And I've had it happen before with Dave Matthews and Wilco and I think, and just Taylor. Those are my 3.
What do you, like, what is it about her music that you feel understood by?
You know, it's just
there's so much.
It's the bopness of it. Like, it's just, she knows how to write a song. I like the melodies and I like the lyrics I get into later. I obviously love them, but it starts with like the music. Her voice speaks to me. It's maybe kind of sounds like me. You know, like you tend to gravitate towards things that are like you.
Totally.
And there's just an emotionality in it. Again, didn't get to feel my feelings as a kid, so I think I'm always late to that game. And it just, there's some kind of feelings going. She taps into some feelings for me. So if I need to feel a feeling, I can like pull up a song of hers and get into it and like dig in.
Does comedy have any part in you feeling a feeling?
Yeah, I think yes. I mean, when I get angry about something, that's when it'll probably end up in my act later. Sometimes I bring it up too soon and I'm a little too angry about it. In the moment, it's not funny yet because I'm just too mad.
Interesting.
And that's not funny to people to see a angry woman, especially like screaming about something. But when you start getting kind of like manic about it and you have more of a sense of humor about it, you can be angry but still funny. But at first, when it comes out, I need to sit with it a bit till I bring it on stage and cool off about it. Like I had a whole bit about how men my age were dating women in their 20s and like how they would always say they had old souls. And I'm just like, that's because she's been through trauma and you need to go let her heal. And it was like, I would like, every time I talk about it, I would get like, stop with the old souls. And like, it was really a fun bit to do because it was, my anger around it was funny as opposed to like mad at men or something, like I have to find a balance. But I think in terms of sincerity and like feeling of like, I love something so much or like, feeling wistful or sad about something, deeply uncomfortable with expressing those. Like, I think that's where music is the only way I could probably get that out.
Interesting. So do you and Chris like listen to Taylor Swift together?
Oh my God. That's like, the other day I had an epiphany that I loved him so much and I can never let him go because he let me talk about tortured poets. He's let me talk about tortured poets so much. But the other night, it always just starts with him showing me like a video of something and then I go, oh my God, this reminds me of a Taylor Swift thing. And then, I'll let him do his video. Then we kind of take turns. But at some point I just keep going and go, oh, actually this one. And he watched like 4 Taylor Swift videos in a row with me and like help, like let me critique them and share like why this is important and why that's an Easter egg and like my theories on things. And I was just like, man, this is really nice of him to do this because I know he doesn't care on the level that I do, but he acted like, I think I got him to kind of care and he was patient with it. And I just think that's really important to me in a partner and a friend that lets me Swift out hard and isn't like making fun of me about it or doesn't take it seriously because although I know it's ridiculous to love someone so much and have a parasocial relationship, I have fans that have parasocial relationships with me and because I have one with Taylor Swift, I honor their relationships. And I'm like, you would be friends with me. I know what it's like to feel like you'd be friends with me and not know me. You know what? We're friends. We are because, you know what? I feel the same way. And Taylor takes care of me in terms of being a fan. And Swifties know. We just feel taken care of. Like, she gets us. She knows we're kind of kooky. But she's kind of kooky too.
But I gotta say that's like really healthy. Like, by the way, having your own parasocial relationship, your own artist to be a fan of, it does allow for you to have a deeper and different set of empathy for those who obsess over you.
Yeah, and I do. Like when I meet girls, I have like a shorthand with my fans who listen to my podcast because that's really my like most intimate self because I am kind of unprepared. I shoot from the hip. If I'm depressed, I just talk about my depression. If I'm angry, I get angry. Like I can be myself on my podcast. It's not something for like the casual Nikki Glaser fan that wants to hear me like roast or whatever. It's really me at my like most vulnerable. And so when I meet my besties, my fans from my podcast, they often are like, you're my Taylor Swift. They know that's a shorthand for me to be like, I got you. And like, oh my God, that's so nice. And like, oh, I love you. And like do all the things that I know I would want Taylor to do to me.
That's special.
If I met her. Yeah, it's so special. And yeah, it's just, I love being a Swiftie. And it's just a part of my life that I am sometimes a little embarrassed by, but mostly like, sorry, most people don't have this thing that I have that brings me so much joy and so much content.
Like, you don't need to apologize to people. I mean, I have the deepest love, appreciation, and respect for all forms of stan culture. And it is, dude, music is the most valuable and important asset to exist in this world.
Yes.
It like transcends every fucking border, every language.
Yes.
Like it has so much power. And it's, I mean, even we hold it at a very high level, but I still think it's underappreciated. And you can't even understand like the full power of a single song. Like you can't even really measure it fully. So, dude, I love stan culture. Because I'm a fucking stan myself over
Who
so
do
many
you
people.
stan?
The list is endless.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people. And I I have a deep appreciation for any sort of artist. Anybody who has the vulnerability and bravery to literally create something from nothing, and that something is attached to themselves in any way. Could be the most surface level or deep, or in some way, sometimes like the most like deepest universe way. Like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Intimate. And I read Sinead O'Connor's autobiography over the summer after she had died and was like trying to get to know her, just as I'd never really, my friend is a huge fan of hers, and I was like, I want to get to know her, and she's so incredible. That biography, it's so good. But she said, you know, you're going to read about me and you're going to learn a lot about me in this autobiography. I mean, these are my words. I'm writing in like prose for you, but everything you want to know, it's in the songs.
That's it.
She goes, nothing here is not in the songs, and there's way more in the songs than what's here. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that is how I feel about Taylor Swift. She could write a book about everything she's ever done, every backstage moment she's had.
It's all in the records.
And I'm like, no, I got it all already. I mean, this is stuff that is so intimate. Like, we do, if you're, people who don't understand what it's like to be a Swiftie and can't possibly, you don't get it because you don't, there's no artist that's giving that I know of that's giving you this much of an intimate look at their life. At least I'm sure they're out there, but for me, I haven't come across them.
But by the way, I'm telling you too, like the stories of reality of an artist's like life is woven through every lyric in most cases.
Yeah.
Like even in what seem like the most shallow poppiest hits have deep meaning and story that if you really want to look for it, the parallels definitely exist.
Yes.
And like, I mean, I literally get paid to do it for a living. Like, I'm telling you, it's crazy. And like, it is, but that's art, right? Like, whether it's
so
conscious
cool.
or subconscious. And
I could see that in people's stand-up specials. I'm like, oh, she's going to divorce her husband soon. Like, she's joking about being done or wanting out, or he's throwing his wife under the bus. They're not going to, like, I can see things a brewing because art imitates life, and sometimes
Totally.
it predicts it. And sometimes... And, you know, writing a song or telling a joke is a great way to get your feelings out and hide behind a little something of like, oh, I could be writing from a character's perspective, folklore. But maybe I was in a relationship similar to August and Betty, or, you know, like that for me is like
Interesting.
I can write a joke for that is like, oh, my sister said this, but it's me. You know, I can the truth is somewhere in there. But I always try with stand up to really. I think it's always funny to me when people come up and go, is that true what you just said? I'm like, yeah, like everything was. I don't really make up stuff. You can tell what I'm making up on stage, where it's like a really absurdist line at the end of a bit. But most of the stories and most of the feelings behind my jokes, I 100% stand. I wouldn't be able to say them if I didn't.
it's not an exaggerated version of you, not an embellished version.
Yeah, I mean, no, because all the you know, if I have stuff about sex, I mean, sometimes people think I'm like a crazy whore because I talk a lot about sex, but all the sex I'm talking about has really happened with one person. Maybe I'm trying to make it seem more diverse because I don't want to pin that all on the person that it was probably with, because he's a part of it too. But it's like I generally am telling what is happening in my life and maybe exaggerating, but I always feel like the exaggerations, like the audience knows where I'm just being ridiculous. But the rest, I'm like, you should trust me. If you're in doubt of something, it's probably true. But if you're like, that's definitely a joke, then it's probably a joke. But most of the stuff I talk about is so true.
How do you refine your act? And like when you do you set time to write, or are you just always coming up with material?
I'm starting to, because I really want to do my next special like sooner than later, and I have all of these dates coming up because the roast kind of brought my life into a new. I've leveled up in terms of like the amount of gigs I'm getting and like the kind of gigs and the amount people are paying to come see me. So I'm like, okay, I got to bring it. So
Well
now
deserved, by the way.
Thank you. I'm ready to like work on it in a way that I always should have been, but have been a little bit too lazy to. So generally my process is like, oh, I'll say something funny and on a podcast or in conversation, and I'll like jot it in my phone, just like a couple words to remember what that was. And then when I'm about to go on stage, I'll like look through my notes as my opening act is up there, kind of just like remind myself of like, oh yeah, I wanted to kind of try that. And then I'm kind of like, just remember to do that. Like I just try to set a reminder in my head. It's literally like a word. Like it's not even thought out yet. And so then I'll shoehorn it in somewhere in my act that's already like my act is worked out,
Yeah.
and then I'll shoehorn it in. And if it gets a pop of laughter, I'm like, oh, that's something. And then it gives me the confidence to say another line. And if that gets a pop, then I'm like, okay, I'll keep that. And then hopefully I just remember what popped. And sometimes when I'm on stage, I'll just say, can someone DM me the words like pee on a jellyfish later, where if you were to pee on just someone pee jellyfish is all you need to DM me. Like I'll get distracted because I'm like, I won't remember to go back and listen to that. And I know that I'll forget it, as every artist knows that no matter how good the idea seems, definitely write it down because it's not good enough for you to remember later,
So
ever.
you're really working this out in front of people in almost real time.
Yeah, because that's like the same as me sitting at a cafe. At some point, it's just going to come out. I'm just going to think of it. You know, like it might as well think of it on stage. And usually the funniest stuff is like in the moment and really real. So I feel like a lot of funny stuff does come out when I'm really comfortable on stage, and I've been killing for about 20 minutes, and I've been like, I'm in the zone. They trust me. I trust them to kind of go with me, and that's when cool stuff comes out. But I need to do better about like really paying attention to funny stuff I say in conversation, writing it in my phone, taking it from my phone to maybe putting it in a laptop, and maybe calling a friend and being like, hey, can we talk through this premise? Just being more collaborative, because that's the thing with music is so much more collaborative than stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy, you're just supposed to be a lone wolf, and it's supposed to be all you, and it's your show. And it's like, why does everything else I do would be like a group effort? If I wrote a movie script, a TV script, if I hosted something, when I do a roast, it's like there's writers, like you hire a team, and it's more fun to me that way. So I'm starting to approach my stand-up that way of like, let's take it up a notch and make it as great as possible.
That's cool. There is something that like in that moment, like the crowd is your collaborator. Like,
Yeah.
you get comfortable enough where you could be vulnerable, and like even if you fuck it up, like you tried something, and that's okay.
Yes.
You know.
And they like it when you go, well, that's the last time I'll ever say that. That literally will not leave this room. It better not. I hope no one was recording that because I'll get canceled. That was not perfected yet. And then we all like have this amazing live moment experience together. That is my favorite thing about stand-up, is that it's you. That's why I like going to Air's tour. Like we get Taylor for one night and she's ours, and we all have this, not she's ours, but like we just shared a night with her. Like she had to be here too.
And
It wasn't.
you all have that collective experience.
Yeah,
It's something
we're all
that's
together.
shared.
We're all like friends for the night. And that's how it kind of feels with I try to make them feel that way, and all different. No show of mine is the same ever. I am just up there like kind of grab bagging jokes as I go and getting to, it's very ADD. When I'm trying to like work on a special, then I'll like lock in like, the order. But that's so boring to me. I hate when I have to work on something and get it to an order.
Is it hard to? What's the hardest part about that? Is it
It's
cutting
just like
it or
finding, memorizing, and like trying to I don't want to worry about the order of jokes when I'm trying to find like the essence of how I feel about those things. So I'm trying to like tell a joke that I've said 50 times, and I'm trying to feel the way I felt about it when I first wrote it, because that's when it's funniest, when it's fresh. And then I'm also trying to figure in my mind what joke is next. Like I don't want to have to think about what joke is next, so I'd rather just be in that joke. But when I'm planning for a special, I'm like, okay, and then, okay, remember what's next. And then after that, and then hopefully you just get to a place where you memorize it and you don't have to think about it. But yeah, generally I'm just trying to be in the moment up there.
How many times will you record a special before you get a final cut? Or do you just do
We
it
do
once?
2 shows
Okay, got it.
in one night, and then we cut those 2 together. But the leading up to it, it's like months of, okay, I think this is what the set is, and then moving it around. I'm never ready. I'm always like, oh, I could use a couple more weeks. It's like, it's never enough time. I think that's like, you could just always keep adding things.
Same rule for music, right? Musicians say the songs are never done.
And then I hear that they go back and they listen, and they're like, I can't even listen to that because it's so much better now that I've done it live a bunch and I've added this thing to it, and I change, like that's really interesting to me. And I love when music relates to comedy, because I want to, being a musician would be my dream.
You're going to win a Grammy in 7 years, I hear.
I gave myself 7 years, yeah. But maybe for a comedy album, but I'd like to do it for like us for music.
I was wondering, like, in my notes, it stayed vague on like for what,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was a spoken word or if it was going to be like a pop
I would
album.
like to like be a singer, and I'm like training to be a singer. Or I'd like to be a songwriter. I think I'm better at that than singing, but my singing's not horrible. It's just not where I want it to be.
Your record's great.
I did write a song
You did.
and I put out a single and I love it. And I just need to do that again a bunch, but it's hard to write a bunch of good songs.
Robin Quivers is a big fan of yours,
Yeah, she
so
is.
you should use that.
She liked it.
I got to say, you're one of the greatest guests to ever be on Howard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that means so much from you.
I mean, he's fucking incredible. He's the greatest broadcaster to ever live. And Robin's the greatest co-host to ever live. And has the
Ever.
most pure heart. And she's so beautiful. And
I know. I love them both so much. And it means so much to me that Howard Stern has taken a shine to me because he's my favorite too. And talk about authentic and real and just
unapologetically himself.
And getting things out of people that they've never said before. Like he's so easy to talk to because he's an open book pretty much. And he's not judgmental, and I just love him so much. And that's been like, you know, there's a few things in my career that I go, okay, you really did it. And having him in my good graces and having him even think I'm worth having on the show is like a huge achievement in my life forever and ever.
It gives me fucking goosebumps because it is true.
It's amazing.
And you kill every time.
Thank you.
And he times it out perfectly. You come with the roast jokes, the jokes that never make the roast.
Yes. Yeah. I finagle that.
So good.
Because I write them and I go, listen, I got this thing. Like, I know that Howard's going to want the goods. Like, I can't just come in there. I'd call him up and be like, I'll ride the Sibian. Like, I would do anything to be up. I literally would ride the Sibian. I don't care. I'll do anything for that show. I really do whore myself out for that show. I've judged, penis contests.
So good.
And I've done Holly Weird Squares. I've interviewed, what's his name? Grocery Bag Pete or whatever. I forget the guy that's in love with me that is really disgusting. I've just done lewd phone calls with people just for anything. But so when he goes in there, I'm like, so when I was doing the roast, the first person I called when I found out I was doing the roast was, Gary. And I go, I'm doing the roast. You want some roast jokes the day after? We can make this work. And so I knew that would maybe be, I always want to give Howard something good. I never want to just be like, I have a special to promote. Can you talk to me about anal sex? Like, he knows I'm going to give him that, but I need to bring a gift if I'm going. So yeah.
Fucking great.
Yeah. I love that show.
So do you really put a team together for the roast, or is it that's how it begins? And how do you curate the team?
I just pick, you can't not, because it's just like the hardest thing you could ever imagine doing, writing that many jokes and having them be that good. You got to bring in a team. It's like the way when guys host the Emmys or Oscars or whatever, they have a writing team because you want that monologue to be perfect. So I look at it as a monologue, like I look at it like a TV show I'm writing. Like, I need a team. So I pick the funniest people I know. And that really goes from people I went to high school with to guys I hung out with after college, who, we just used to drink together, and they would just say they were just funny people, but they work now in like insurance. And then of course, my favorite comedians and just people who are in the roast world who think in that way, and just people who think differently than me, because that's exciting, because then that makes me, I really can, I'm like a chameleon. Like, if I'm around enough different stuff, I can start writing like that. And so it's fun for me to get jokes that are just so weird. I'm like, I didn't even think about approaching it from that angle. And then I can take that and do something with it. But I just cast a wide net of the best writers I know.
Same people from roast to roast, or is it different team every time?
I've repeated some. Kim Congdon, Mike Lawrence, an ex-boyfriend I had who was just like, so literally I haven't talked to him. I only talk to him when I want roast jokes. And he does not work in comedy anymore. And this time he was like not getting back to me because he has like a family. And I go, dude, okay, I'll pay you this. I'll pay you like 5 times. I think I offered him 10 times as much just for 1 hour of his time. I go, 1 hour of your mind. I need it for this, just because you can give me one thing that I have never looked at that person in that way. And his jokes didn't make it this time, but he did come through. So just people who are gonna think something crazy that I'd never seen before about this person, because that's and it's just, and I loved getting these jokes because you get this list of jokes and you're like, and most of them are duds. Like, I write these jokes too, and like 99% of them are just like, what the hell? But then there's one that'll just, you won't even know the one that's gonna be the greatest. I just have a feeling about it, and then you just take it out and you do sets all over town and you just tell these jokes to audiences where the setting is not the roast. So you explain who's going to be there. You explain who each person is.
Interesting.
And then you do the jokes and you go, oh, that works, even though they don't know who Drew Bledsoe is. Okay, that's great. So when he's there, that'll kill. That worked. When Tom Brady's not sitting there, and I didn't have to show a picture of him for that to work, of how he looks like a, Ken doll you put in a microwave or whatever. Like whatever line it is, like I'm like, if that works when he's not sitting there, but then there are some jokes that work because he's not sitting there, because it's so crazy, we can all laugh because he's not in the room. And then you go, wait, will that not work when he's there because everyone will feel bad laughing at it? And so it's kind of, that's the gamble you take where you're like, I don't know how this will go when he's there.
It's just really workshopped like any normal set.
Yeah. I just go up and I go, hey guys, I'm doing the roast of Tom Brady. They applaud and I go, okay, here's who's going to be there. Will you guys help me with my set? I'm going to do some roast jokes. This will seriously help me so much based on like what your laughter is what the jokes will be. Wow. So I kind of engage them like they're a focus group, and they are. And so then they feel part of the group effort of making the set. It's fun.
That's so
I love
cool.
it. Like as soon as the roast was over, I was like, I miss doing roast jokes on stage. And so I think I'm going to start writing some for like each town I go to or something, because they're just so satisfying.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Like roast the city you're in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah, so I'm on tour now, so that's going to, I think, be my angle. Because people do go to my show and they go, I want to see roast jokes. And I'm like, well, that's not really my act.
Yeah.
But maybe I can give them a little of that. And it's a challenge for myself. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me writing. So I'll probably do that. But I'll probably just talk about how my vagina's falling or something. Like, that's most of my act. It's not, but it's a part of it.
What do you think your greatest joke from Tom Brady was?
I think the one that, like, everyone, like, talks about is... Tom lost $30 million in crypto. Tom, how did that happen? I mean, even Gronk heard about crypto and was like, me know that, not real money. It's like, and that was the one because it was clean, so it could go far. And there was an act out. And we had kind of set up that Gronk was kind of like stupid already. And Gronk's reaction afterwards was really funny. It's like and it was perfectly in the set, in the place where it was like, the set was kind of building, and then that was the moment that was like a crescendo. I felt like I built their trust because people were like, who is this? Oh, she's funny. Okay, wow, she's got jokes. All right, she's sitting astride. And then that one was like this boom. And I remember the laughter on that one. I had a tag to it, I think. It was like, but Gronk does Bitcoin. And that's why he just like chews on handfuls of nickels or something. If it was something like that. But that tag, which is like a side joke that goes with the main joke, that was rather delayed because that joke got such a pop. I was kind of just like waiting for the laughs to die down. Like, I only got 6 minutes, guys. Come on, I gotta keep going.
Because also it's a huge room.
It was huge. I mean, I've never performed in a room that big in my life.
It's an arena.
And it was live on TV.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. I mean, the stakes could not have been higher. Could not have been higher.
Are you changing the order of your jokes in the moment, or
no,
do you have it?
They're locked in. I mean, there was a couple ones that I was like, I'll throw this in. I'll take it out of the set, but if the time is right, I'll throw it in. Like if Gronk were to have heckled me at any point, I was going to say, can someone change his diaper? Kevin, I think it's your turn. Or I was going to say, there's some, if he gets distracted, there's a coloring book underneath his seat and some crayons he can eat. So there were like kind of lines like that were just in case something happened. But no, it was kind of locked. It was locked in to like, and right up to the moment. Like I'm in the dressing room, like getting my eyelashes put on. Like, should we move this joke here? Okay, it's too late. Okay, I'm sending it to the prompter, so it's done.
Like
and now I have to go to red carpet. And now it's in.
Who's with you? Is it Chris? Like, is it?
Yeah, Chris was there, my boyfriend, and he wasn't producing, but he's just there for support. But I hired like a head writer, like my main guy. He's my podcast co-host named Brian Frangie. Brian was there. A couple writers that were hired from the show were like in the room with me, but I only had one writer backstage. And then my hair and makeup girls and my stylist. And I'm like, I remember one joke was about Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. And it was like, you guys are the only comedy duo with no straight man. And I thought that was a funny joke. But then I said it and I go, that's good because I needed like an intro to like Tom and Bert are here. And I ended up going with Tom and Bert. You guys are presenting together like two peas in each other's mouths. It was just, I needed a transition to get into them. And I was like, that straight man joke is funny. But then my makeup artist, she kind of didn't laugh. And I go, do you know that in comedy duos, there's like a straight man and then like the crazy one? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, then no, we're not doing it because I need, and that's okay. And she was like, I'm sorry, I don't know that. And I go, no, that's fine.
That's the honesty. And you want general population in that moment.
Absolutely. And that wouldn't have worked. She was so right. That room, and I don't expect people to know what that is. It is a great joke, but it just wouldn't have worked.
Also, what's their fucking energy, those guys? They said something about your time slot in the roast being the reason why people loved what you did. That's a whole load of bullshit.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed in that, but they do have a point. Like, where you go up in the lineup does absolutely matter, and I'm so grateful I went up earlier because people had the energy to pay attention, and I do. I acknowledged that right away. I went up to Andrew Schultz and I was like, dude, if you would have gone up earlier, we'd be talking about you a lot too. But I also think they would have been talking about me in his slot too. And I don't think
100%. And by the way, like, I think, like, if you judge success in this day and age, like, dude, yes, in the moment, but also the afterglow of that set has a lot to do with it, where that set travels. You know what I mean? Like, so many other factors outside of where you fall in the larger
I think
thing.
Yeah, I felt zero backlash from anyone after that until that moment of like just having to be like, well, would we be talking about her if this were different? I'm like, when do we ever play this game of like, why this girl, we wouldn't like her so much if this timing would be different. It's just like, why even bring that up? Doesn't that kind of rob me of something, which is fine because you could have a point. And Bert's my friend. Bert, who brought it up, is my friend. And I don't think he was trying to just say how great Andrew's set was as opposed to not say how not great mine was or something. But it was like, I don't like to see people talking about me, especially like my friends. I was just like, ugh, Skip, get away.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but I also am okay with it because I do the same thing on my podcast where I like talk about people that I'm like, oh, I don't expect them to see that ever. So I try to just ignore it. Like, okay, you can talk about me. I just won't listen. I try to avoid anything that says my name. I just don't want to hear anyone weigh in on me. And so I just go, skip. So that the week after the roast, there was a lot of people just saying nice things, but even nice things, I was just like, too much, get it out of there.
So then what's your main motivation behind doing comedy, right? Like, if it's not the yes, it has to be the reaction to a certain degree, but it's the reaction in the room, not the reaction of the conversation.
I think it is. I mean,
or is it all of it?
I'm questioning right now in my life because I think it was always, I was watching Esther Pavitsky on your show, dear friend of mine.
Amazing.
And I loved her just honesty about like, I just like wanted people to like me and I wanted to be like a pretty pop star that people go, she's so pretty and I like her so much. Like, that was her motivation for moving to Hollywood, and like she didn't even know what that meant. And I think that was like my motivation when I was a kid, being like, I just want to be on TV and have people go like, have people feel the way about me that I feel about Jennifer Aniston. I think she was the first one I like stanned. That was probably my first like childhood standing. And so I think that was probably my draw to like, I got to find an in. I got to be on TV because I want to be admired in that way and looked at. And I want people going like, oh, is that Nikki Glaser? And now that I have it, as everyone says once they get it, it actually doesn't fill the hole that I thought it would. And it doesn't. But it doesn't mean that I am obviously motivated by like, I want people to like me and be like, she made me feel good about myself, or my goal isn't to make people laugh necessarily. It's like I like when people feel less alone and less weird. And I want to encourage people to be more honest in their own life. I think if I was trying to find some nobility in what I do, it's like, I want to talk about things and have those people go home and be able to like maybe say something that's kind of outlandish when they go to lunch with their girlfriends and be like, I have a yeast infection, like, or whatever it is that, like, the way Esther said when she shared that she had a yeast infection on stage the first time, and she was just being honest, but she realized like, oh, this got laughs. And like, when I first saw people like her, Sarah Silverman saying dirty things on stage and like people still liking her, I just didn't know that was possible. And I want to let girls and boys as well know, like, you can be yourself and people will still love you. And they might like you more because of it.
Honesty is the best policy.
It's so good when you're not a horrible person.
Totally.
Like, if you're a horrible person, hide that shit. And you should have no problem doing that because you're probably a psychopath or like a sociopath and you don't really care about manipulating people's perception of you. But like, if you're... I know that I'm like not a bad, hateful person. I've finally accepted that about myself. I always think I thought like you're sneakily a bad person.
When did it all click? When did you realize?
Like the other day when I turned 40, I think like turning 40, I was just like, will you like let yourself off the fucking hook and stop being like caring so much what people think or worrying that you're like not enough, or why are you like this and why aren't you like that? Like, I'm not totally above it. I'm still gonna have a facelift at some point and like do all the things that people and cry about a picture where it looks like my face is slipping off my skull. Like, I'm still gonna have insecurities that are gonna come up, and then my knees are starting to look like Mount Rushmore when I stand. Like, there's new faces, new presidents are showing up in my knees every week because it's all just like sagging. But like, just like be nicer to yourself. Like, laugh about it a bit more and like be. Okay, like, yes, okay, get the knee surgery if you want it, but don't, like, complain about it and cry about it every day. Just, like, be a woman about it. But I forget what your question was, but I think my goal now is just I want to have fun and I want to make people feel like, and really myself, feel better about being myself.
Fuck yeah.
I just want people to, like, I
get that.
you know when you, like, you can want things for other people, but you can't do them yourself. Like, I just want everyone to like themselves and be like happy that they're so different than everyone else. Like, I truly buy into that now. I was always called bullshit on like, well, everyone's special. And I'm like, I'm not special like her. Those tits are special. These, I mean, I guess they are because they're unique, but they're not, those are getting her in places in life. Like, sometimes things are better than others and that's okay. But I feel like, I am finally realizing, like, okay, I'm never going to be the cleanest person. I'm never going to be the prettiest person I want to be. And I am grateful for what I have. And I have to look at what I do have and what I really am good at. Focus on the gratitude.
That's
I'm
beautiful.
leaning into it.
Well, because it's who you are, right? And, like, you only have one you.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm going to try to make her look like different things coming up with medical advancements. And that's fine. That's okay. And that will be crazy. And I can't wait. You know, like, I'm working on a new bit about how women, I want to, like, make a thesis statement that will change the world of how people look at women who have plastic surgery and not be, like, so, like, judgmental of them or people who take Ozempic or anything to look better. Like, I want us all to, like, chill out on that and be like, okay, let them. I mean, they're just trying to get more love in this stupid world. That's what that buys you. And you can pretend all day like it doesn't, but we do live in a society that judges that stuff. So that stuff, these people that want to be thinner, it's not because they're like, they want to be hot and have like everyone fuck them. It's because they just want people to like them more.
It's true.
That's it.
Amen.
And is that so sad? Is that such a sad, pathetic thing? No, it's actually pretty admirable and honorable. And maybe you're going about it in a way that's slicing your face open and you're going to regret it. I mean, especially women who have had botched surgery, like, be nice to them. They set out to do the opposite of what happened. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, they went out to look so much better than they look now, and they look worse. They took a huge risk by having their face cut into. And I think I'm still working it out clearly, but I really want to make a statement for those women, and I want it to, like, travel of, like, that we change our perception of women who do this stuff and be like, good for you, girl. You're like, you know, you're like the Magellan of, like, face exploration, like, of what you can do with your eyelids, but you went too far and
Turn around.
your ship sunk. You know, like, yeah, like, you're gonna make mistakes, but at least they took chances. And so
that's admirable. It is admirable, like, because they did it in the quest just to fit in and
they're
to be
just
liked.
trying to keep working. No one's trying to fuck up their face. No one wants to look bad. No, I really don't. I mean, unless the guy that, like, is doing the horns coming out and wants to turn into a cat. I mean, even that, he's trying to, like, find love in some way. The guy that's, you know.
That's so true.
That's all it is.
But we're all just trying to find love.
That's it. We all just, I mean, aside from psychopaths, which are 2% of the population, which is a lot, but, like, most of us just want people to, like us because we still have the brain chemistry of people who lived in tribes. And if you were ostracized in your tribe, you weren't going to live. You can't live alone. We've watched, you know, the show Alone. You don't survive. So we need people to love us and accept us and want us around. And being youthful and looking hot, people want those people around. I'm just trying to get a space in a bunker when the shit goes down. I want someone to be like, she's hot. Come on in. Or, like, she's entertaining. She made me laugh at the roast. She can get a ticket to my billionaire bunker. I think I've secured I think some guy, there's got to be some billionaire out there that's like, she was good on the roast. And he's going to think I'm going to go in and just roast everyone all the time, but I'm just going to be crying in a corner like, the world's over. He's like, she's a bummer. But I think he'll bring me on just to, like, keep it light. He has no idea what he's getting into. But I do think someone will be dumb enough to bring me on.
I mean.
And I won't have to pay anything.
That's a huge fucking honor, and I don't even think about those things. But
That's
the reality,
what fame is.
That's huge. That's
It's
a
like
big
you
deal.
can be a famous person that's not super rich to afford a life in the apocalypse. But if you're famous enough, like if I was a billionaire, I'd be like, oh my God, I totally want Taylor Swift in my, and she was just, couldn't afford, I'd be like, get her in there.
Yeah, how do you
Or like,
broker that deal? Like even on your, like is that something your
DM
agent
me.
does?
You can just DM me to any billionaires with bunkers underground in Nebraska or wherever you're building them. Just DM me, or you can, my assistant Jennifer White 73 at gmail.com.
No space for her though.
You know what? I will need someone to restock my Zevious sodas. So make sure you have a big enough fridge, and yes, and a bunk for her next to the fridge.
Do you believe in the end of the world?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's gonna happen at some point. People always go, "Everyone says it's gonna happen." It's like, yeah, but someone's gonna be right at some point.
It's true.
And if things aren't looking great in terms of like water and food and stuff, and then like overpopulation and like things aren't looking great, but it's okay. We'll all have to die somehow, and a lot of us will go in that way.
That's really terrifying.
It all is. I mean, death is so scary, and it's like so sad to think about.
Are you ready to vote?
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, no, because I'm scared. I just don't want that month to come up.
I know.
But yeah, of course I'm ready to vote.
That is. I mean,
Yes.
it's all connected.
It's all connected. I'm terrified. I don't even, like as soon as you, I'm like starting to like tense up.
It's anxiety ridden.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, it's all. You know what though? Letting go.
Release.
I'm letting go. Like can't control any of it. I used to have extreme panic over the nuclear war happening in 8th grade. We were reading a book about the end of the world called Z for Zechariah. And then our teacher made us watch this movie about the nuclear apocalypse called like The Day After Tomorrow, something like that. And it was the 70s movie, and the nuclear bomb would hit, and then these people would be like running in a field. It'd be kids running, and then they go, and it'd be like a skeleton flashing like, and they'd be like throwing a ball, and it's like, and I was just like, oh my God, someone's gonna hit a button. I'm gonna be just a skeleton being like, like at my lunch table at school, and I won't even have a chance to say goodbye. It's just gonna be like, ding. And so I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping on my parents' floor every night in 8th grade, moving into high school, had like so much anxiety over the end of the world. And one day I like went down to my dad's room, and I was always scared of something, alien abduction, so anxious as a kid. And I like opened their bedroom. I was knocked because of sex. And I knocked and was like, Mom and Dad? Like, yeah, I could tell they were asleep. Or he was just, face deep in muff. But I just remember like, "Bleh," and I'm like, I can't sleep. And he goes, what is it? And I was like, I'm just scared of nuclear war, and I just can't believe someone could push a button and then I'd be a skeleton. And he was just like, there's nothing you can do about it. There's literally nothing. What are you going to let's talk about some solutions. What can you do? And I'm like, wait, there is nothing I can do. And that made me feel I literally shut the door to the bedroom and never slept on their floor again. And I was sleeping on their floor probably 3 nights a week for years and years. And it was becoming a problem where they were like, we're going to have to see a specialist. You can't go into high school sleeping on our bedroom floor. And I was about to. But then I was just like letting go. Just being like, if you have a problem in your life and you really can't do anything about it, like if you're worried if someone thinks something about you, but they actually think this thing, and I'm actually doing the opposite, and there's nothing you can do to control what they think. Just let go. And I found that I'm just trying to let go more in my life. And when I feel like I just let myself off the hook for things, okay, so you looked like, Iggy Pop in that picture, his age now. Nikki, that's okay. You didn't mean to. Let it go. Like, just forgive yourself for looking like the person you didn't want to look like, and having your eyes look dead. Like, whatever it is that I'm like, what's wrong with me? So you looked like Mickey Rourke on that performance. It's okay. Like, let it go. Tomorrow's a new day, and maybe you'll look like him tomorrow too, but like, you're trying your best. Let it go. Release. And that's what I like. I'm taking voice lessons now, and I've been doing it for years, and it's so fucking hard to become a singer. Like, I can't even believe, like, some people it is natural, but it is an instrument you can build and
it's
learn.
a muscle.
Yeah. And I got to release. Like, my biggest hurdle is like, I'm so like, can I hit that note? And my neck gets like vascular, like Ren and Stimpy, and it would like zoom in. It's like, I look like those guys are like, ugh. And the sound cannot come out because I'm so scared of what will sound like. And it's all about, that's my new thing that I'm trying to manifest is like, you're a good singer. It's just locked inside you. Relax.
Fuck yeah. Knock on that wood. It's really good luck.
It is?
Yes. Oh my God.
So what do I have to like say? I'm very, do I have to like say
just
something?
knock on it.
I'm a really good singer.
That's it.
Okay.
There we go. I'm telling you. Like
Okay. Whoa,
call me in a few weeks.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I can go through a list of like the amount of people who have manifested shit on this show, and within a span of a few months, it happens. It's crazy. I mean, Peter McPolin, Emma Chamberlain relationship, this girl Madison Brown dating Chris Hemsworth.
Okay.
I mean, there's a bunch of examples, crazy examples. That's just like two on the top of my
The
head.
amazing singer stuck inside me, which I've heard her. She's come out a couple times. She
Release.
She's gonna be released soon.
How many songs have you written?
Just one.
Real? That's bullshit. You
Well,
have
I
other
wrote
songs.
one for F Boy Island.
Okay.
And F Girl Island. I wrote like a parody song. And then I've written a bunch of parody songs of like, Weird Al type stuff. And I have a talent for it. Like I really do like writing songs. Like I've done like Anti-Hero about St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis. And so when I perform there, I do like a song about like, it's me. Hi, I'm from St. Louis. I love sports. I love, and then I do a whole thing about how we're racist and, how we eat food that will kill you, I do a whole, so I do parody songs, but I love singing so much that I try to work it in any chance I can get.
Would you do parody songs seriously, like release them?
No, because I would.
What a
but
dead
it's not
art.
it's not, comedy and music are separate for me. Like I want to be like a sincere artist, and I'd like to be funny within songs in ways that aren't like hit you over the head, like the way Bo Burnham does it. Like Bo Burnham, I listen to his songs, and Adam Sandler. I work out to their songs. Like the Chris Farley song, Adam Sandler's song about I'm an alcoholic lawyer is just a great song. There's a Station 69 is one that I like jam out to. It's like a great pop song. Lonely Island, amazing pop songs.
Truth.
And Bo Burnham, like I'm always like, listen, sometimes I laugh and I'm mad that I'm laughing because I'm like, no, I want to like feel the song because they just sound so good. So I feel like there's something like that for me out there.
How the record that you have out now that ended your special, is that kind of setting the tone for that, or
I think
it seems
so.
really deep though?
It was perfectly. I don't know how I did it because it came out. It's something that I'm more proud of than maybe anything I've ever done because it was the first song I wrote that was the first sincere song that wasn't a joke. And yes, it's for the end of my special, but I wanted people. My original plan was to not even put my name on it and just have people be like, "Who is this?" and be like, "Oh, Nikki did it." Like I wanted to kind of be a secret of like, if they thought it was good, they would look into it instead of being like, "This is my song." But it turned out really good, and it's just. This name of the special is Someday You'll Die. So I already had a title. I was like, okay, I'll have it be Someday You Die, Someday You'll Die. And then I think it was a little bit anti-hero inspired of like, okay, I can talk about my depression and my special, which I didn't find a way to actually encapsulate this feeling in the jokes. I tried to shoehorn it in later, but I was able to with the song really hit the nail on the head of like, the idea that someday I'll die is my biggest fear, but it's also like a huge relief sometimes when I get really depressed. And I thought that's a very funny, ironic thing that when I get depressed, I'm like, yes, I want to die. And I thought it would be funny to make a song that's like celebrating, like, someday you'll die. Like that's that's funny to me, and to make it sound like this triumphant, like pop song. And I just really felt like I nailed it. Like I feel like really seen by that song. And I'm like, okay. I hope I can do that again, but I don't know what else to write about. I'm like waiting for inspiration.
So, but how did the inspiration for this record start?
This was just like, I was editing my special and we named it Someday You'll Die. And then they were like, what song do you want for the credits? And, all the songs that I was like thinking didn't really fit the theme of the show. Like I really care about the end song. And it was also going to be really expensive. It's like, even for a song no one's really heard of, like a B track from like, Metric was like $30,000 the last time. And it comes out of my own money because at that point we are so deep in that we have no money left when it's like the last thing is like, what song? And so I just was like, what if I wrote my own? And then my boyfriend was like, you should. Let's do it. And just started texting people. And I was like, ah. Then suddenly a producer was flying to St. Louis to write with me in the week for like 3 days over the course of this week. And I'm like, this is happening tomorrow. I don't even know what we're going to do. And he was like, don't worry. Like, he'll write a song for you and you can just sing it. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to write my own. He's like, well, then do. And I'm like, but I only have a day. And I'm just someone who works last minute. So I just went in my room and was like, okay, I'll just come up with this. And it's just like 4-chord progression that I've done a million times in all the Taylor Swift songs I've learned. And so I just threw it together the night before. And then we worked out it was pretty much just written the night. In like the way people talk about, like, I was like, I just wrote it in 20 minutes. But that's like, sometimes that's the way jokes work. Like a bit will be I can write a bit that looks like some bits can take me for years to figure out. And some are just the first time I say them, they're great. And so now I kind of understand when musicians say like, oh, I just wrote that one in 1 minute. Like, I'm like, oh, it's like comedy.
But like something takes over, you know what I mean? Like there is something where the universe kind of like pipes in and your subconscious like takes over.
And you know what I did, Zach? And I think this is a good lesson, and it's what I did in comedy too, is I pretended I was someone else. I pretended that Nikki Glaser, this comedian who has an HBO special, just asked me out of the blue to write a song for her special. This artist has never written one, but she sees something in me that I could. And I'm like, I can't turn down this. I have a chance to have a song in an HBO special. I'm not going to like not do that because I'm scared. And she believes in me. So like, I honestly took it as like, I have to act like I'm a separate person that like I'm giving myself this opportunity.
Fuck yeah.
No one's going to turn that down. If you were like, I want you to you're at least going to try to write one.
Totally.
So I had to do it because it was like, I gave myself an assignment and looked at myself as someone else. And when I first started comedy and people ask me, how do I write stand-up comedy? I always just say, just act like you're someone else. Pretend look at a comedian you look up to and pretend that they wrote to you and said, hey, you have to write me 3 minutes of comedy tonight. And just write for them. Because usually you're drawn to people that you sound like. So if you're writing for whoever it is, that's who you want to be anyway. And so then, and it takes the pressure off because you're like writing. You know how I always just like to do other people's work besides my own. I'd like to clean someone else's room besides my own. I'll do my sister's homework in high school before my own. And so, yeah, I just outsourced it. So I just have to do that again. Like I think I have to like come up with like a stage name or something because I have another writing session coming up next week. And I'm like, I have no ideas for songs. What do I care about? I'm like in love right now. I'm not even mad at a man. I'm just like, what the fuck am I gonna
write about love?
I'm listening to a lot of Lover, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can be inspired by that.
Will you get married?
I'm open to it for the first time ever because I'm like, oh, it is kind of fun to have like a best friend partner in life. And I'm like not resisting it anymore. I think I used to resist the idea of it because I'm like, then I'm done. And there's no more crushes to have and no more dates to go. Not that I ever even went on a date. Literally, I do not date when I'm single. But like, no more excited, like, oh, he's watching my Instagram story. It's like that dopamine hit. I'm like, when am I gonna get that if I'm like in a committed relationship? But like, I'll just smoke weed or like I'll go climb a mountain or something. There's other thrills in my life.
And you guys have been in a relationship for quite some time now, though.
Yeah, 10 years, off and on. A lot, though.
Pretty good.
It's a long time. And like, I am right now, like, I don't know, something switched in me recently. I think we just both got really honest with each other and I'm like, oh my God, I think this person loves me unconditionally. And I just never have felt that. Like, I know my parents do, but I've always felt like when I do something cool, they're like, oh, they kind of like me a little bit more. And that's okay. Like, they still love me. But like, with Chris, I'm just like nothing. He's like, wow, that was cool that you did that. Like, you were amazing. But it doesn't change. He would love me if I didn't. Like, I've never had that. And I'm starting to be like, oh my God, I think he just like loves me. He likes me for me. You know, like I really feel that for the first time. And I'm like, okay, It's dark out there and it is not easy to find this. And after that night, he let me like talk to him about Taylor Swift for like an hour. I was like, wow, I got to think about like, I don't think anyone else would really do this. And I've asked my friends and they're like, no one else is going to do that for you. We won't even do it. And he like lets me like do the march of, I do Eras Tour dances and I'm like literally in front of I'm memorizing the Smallest Man Who Ever Lived bridge where I'm like, were you sent by someone who wanted me dead? And I'm doing the salute and then I like fall on the ground and I get hit by the bullet. And he's like watched me do it so many times and there's no look of disgust. It's just like, all right, that's what she is. And I just feel so accepted by it. And
that's unconditional love.
It really is and I told him that last night. I was like, I just want to let you know how it means so much to me that you just let me really swift out so hard and you don't ever make fun of me or like you make fun of me in the best way because it deserves to be mocked, but like in a loving way. It just means so much to me. So yeah, I'd be open to marriage, I think.
Kids?
No.
No.
I'm good. I mean, I have my nieces and nephews, and maybe there's...
Oh, they're enough.
They're enough. I'm busy. I really like my life. I like taking naps, and I like being a little bit selfish, and I love things enough that I'm not like, I need more love in my life. Like I'm good. And I know that there's like a deeper love out there that I'll never experience, which is a love for a child, but I don't know. I love things a lot. So I'm like, I don't really care to love something more than what I already love. So yeah, I think I'm okay.
That's really deep, yeah.
If I did do it, I'd adopt, and that's fine because you
That's
can
cool.
adopt later. And so now I have time. And adopting, my whole theory is like, it's better for the kid to be adopted because there's less, like, we put so much pressure on our kids because they're us, right? They look like us. They remind us of us. They're an extent, you better be smart because you're me. Go out there and be me better than me. And it's like so much pressure because you are your parents. Like it just comes with the job of being the genetic makeup of a person. And you feel a lot of pressure and your parents get disappointed in you and you feel dumb and you feel not good enough. And they don't even mean to make you feel that way. They just can't help it because they want you to be better than they are. But if your kid's adopted and they're kind of stupid, you're just like, all right, well, your birth mom was dumb. You should be dumb too. And it's fine that you're dumb. I love you. There's no pressure. You're not me.
Low stakes.
Yeah, it's just like you can, and so that kid will grow up with less pressure because I'm not like, why aren't you reading at the level that I read at? You know, like it's just be dyslexic. I'm not going to, not that dyslexic is dumb, but I think a lot of parents like just get so upset when their kids aren't just perfect. It's like, yeah, be antisocial, be like chubby or whatever it is that I need you to be me. Like you're you, and I don't see any of myself in you genetically, so my subconscious isn't like mad at you.
That's healthy.
Secretly. So I think it might be good. I think there's a load of other things that comes with being adopted that makes kids feel maybe less than sometimes, and I know, and I would honor that, but I do think there's something good about it. It takes pressure off.
Would you roast Taylor Swift?
No, unless she wanted it, but never without her. Like there's Travis Kelce had said on his podcast that if he ever did a roast, he'd want me to do it, and I would love it because I would roast him and I would just uplift her, and if anyone said anything about her, I mean, like I would devastate them. Like I would have her back for it. It would be so fun, but no, I wouldn't. But I think I could do jokes to her, of her, that wouldn't offend her. Like I even mentioned her in my Tom Brady set in a way that I thought like, oh, she won't mind that. Where I said, honestly, Tom, before I got, brought on for this roast, I didn't really know about football. I mean, I honestly only got into football when Taylor Swift said it was okay to. And I felt like that was tipping a hat to the Taylor Swift, NFL takeover, without being like, why are they always showing her? And it's true. Like I started caring about football because Taylor Swift said it's cool.
You and tens of millions of other people. How
I'm not alone.
crazy is that power?
And you know what? She's right. Football's fucking interesting and cool. And there's stuff going on in it that I actually always rolled my eyes about. I J-Lo'd on it, man. I flipped. I used to be so angry about football and how much time it took of my boyfriend's time and how much just so many Sundays and New Year's Day, it's like 10 hours of watching something, and it's like, and then I'm like, oh no, it's like being a Swiftie, and it is interesting, and there's like it's a mental game too, which I didn't really realize, and so now I kind of like football.
Oh shit!
And no one would have predicted that.
You're in
Football and J-Lo.
Damn.
It's the new Nikki.
Would you roast J-Lo?
Yeah, and I think she could take it.
Total. Oh,
she would be good.
Come on.
She would be great. That would be a great idea for her. And I would do it in a way that would make her feel like fucking cool. Like my goal would not be to make her wanting to leave feeling worse about herself. I'd throw myself under the bus and I just talk about how hot she is. Like I would just find an angle that would make fun of her, but also make her feel good about herself. Because it's delicate with women.
Who else could use a roast? Because you're right, like you could really rehab somebody's image in a very unique way.
Lindsay Lohan would have always been a nice one. I feel like she's rehabbed her image on her own recently, but that would be a fun one. I almost think it's like the joke's already done. All of them have been done, so maybe it wouldn't. But after Tom Brady, I mean, it's got to be a big name. And I think Travis Kelce will be a very good one. I was wanting Paris Hilton to do one for a while because she has a good sense of humor about herself. But again, I feel like it's been done. All the jokes have been made. I don't know. I don't really crave roasting anyone. I only want to roast people who want to be roasted. So there's no one that I'm like, oh, I wish I could just dismantle that. It doesn't like bring me joy to hurt someone's feelings deeply. It's not fun, actually.
Oh, that's really nice of you.
It kind of sucks. Like to find out that something you said might have stuck with them and made them feel like, oh, I didn't notice that I'm a squinty-eyed fuckboy or whatever it is that I said. Like I said that Julian Edelman was a squinty-eyed fuckboy, and my friend David Spade was saying to me, he was like, "Man, it's lines like that like maybe no one's ever told him that, but he's thought about himself, and now he's gonna look in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm kind of squinty. Like there is," and I'm like, oh yeah, I thought everyone was gonna point out that he was like always like this, but no one did, and so when I said it, it was like. Maybe the one time he's ever heard that in his life. And I've had it happen to me too, where someone's brought up something in a joke and I'm just like, what? People think that? And it stays with you. It's not fun to be on the receiving end of. But that's what you sign up for, so it's okay.
I mean, I have so many, like, there's general thoughts that I have because, like, calling you a whore seems to be a giant through line to everything, but I don't get it as you're in a committed relationship.
Yes.
It's also just, like, super misogynistic, right? Like, it's what you do when there's a lady.
Yeah. I will give it to them because I did end up throwing myself at Tom Brady and said I would shoot my boyfriend in the face for a lottery ticket to blow Tom Brady. So that's pretty whorish. So I played into the character. And I do talk about sex very openly, which can be misconstrued as being a whore. Like, I've had a lot of crazy sex with one person, but I guess that's slutty. Like, you can be slutty monogamously. So I don't mind being called, like, a slut. I think it's kind of empowering. That stuff didn't bother me. But I guess it's, like, the look stuff, being called old, being called not funny or irrelevant or that kind of stuff hurts where you're just like, oh, no. Please don't pay attention to that joke. No one looked deeper into that of how I look that way or those are the things that hurt my feelings. But generally, I'm like, yeah, call me a whore all you want. Or old. Like, I don't feel like old yet. But in a couple years, that might hurt.
You don't feel old yet?
No, I'm 40. And that's just like, in the scheme of things, that's not that old.
It's true. But, like, when do you get to that point? Because I'm 31 and I feel like I'm old as fuck.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Is that bad? That's bad.
You shouldn't feel old because it's you're the youngest you'll ever be right now. Now you're older. You were just younger when I said now, and now you're older now. So, like, you better just like it. Like, you gotta let go. You just gotta, like, be like, okay, this is the youngest I'm ever gonna be. And 31 is so fucking young. It's like, you have no idea. 40, I just feel like I'll feel old when I'm probably, I don't know when I'll be officially old. 60s probably is when you're like, oh, I'm fucking old. And you can kind of like stop trying to cater to the male gaze with your body and your, the way you dress and look.
Yeah, totally.
And I talk about it in my special. I'm like, it's the day as a woman you just go, I'm going to cut my hair above my earlobes. Like, I don't really care. Bye-bye fuckability. Like, let's like commit to other things. That will be a freeing day for me. But until then, I'll keep trying to stay bangable. But yeah, you're catching me on a good moment. Like, I have enough caffeine in me that I'm like, I don't feel old at all. But like yesterday, I'm sure I was crying about being like, look at my neck and like zooming in on a picture. But
see, music and writing records can help you channel all this and understand your emotions and age.
Yes,
and
it can.
process.
That's why, like, oh my God, the song that I am obsessed with right now that I was like, oh my God, that's what I've been wanting to say. Like, is Olivia Rodrigo's Pretty Isn't Pretty. It came on shuffle and I was just like, oh my God, I love that song because it's about all the things you do to get pretty and all the things, the endless amounts of stuff you can do. And I like the song because there's never a moment where she's like, but it's inside that counts. Look inside your heart, it's who you are. It's like none of that. It was just like, this is the way it is and it's fucked. And it's never gonna change. I love how she says that. She's like, and it's never gonna change. And I liked that. I like that kind of attitude. Let's just talk about things openly and not have to always spin them into like, but love yourself. It's like, no, let's just talk about how it sucks that men mostly decide things and men like young things. And so being young is will behoove you in life. And when you get old, things will slip away. And that's just the way it is. And isn't it fucked? But let's just go along for the ride.
But that honesty is vital for like, I don't know,
Yes.
breaking this shit down. And like,
And not having to make everything about like love yourself, because that's a lot harder than it looks. And when people say to love yourself, I'm always just like, how? I think it's just, it'll happen eventually, but then you end up feeling bad because you don't love yourself. And you're like, well, now I'm failing at that too. Like, I'm mad that I feel fat. Well, you're not fat. You look, compared to this person, you're not. How could you think you're fat? Okay, well, now I'm mad at myself for thinking I'm fat. Like, I can't win. It's just like, I can't help that I feel fat. And let me just say that I do, and not have everyone dismantle it and tell me to love myself when I just don't. Okay, so I'll lie and say I love myself. I love my curves. And then you're just lying to everyone that follows you. And then the second Ozempic comes out, you take it. So did you love your curves that much? No. Or, I mean, yes, you can love your curves and take Ozempic. You can love yourself at every size. I do believe that. But I do think there's this immense pressure to, like, I just got a little bit of backlash from a friend one time because I was talking honestly about, you know, not liking my looks and struggling with my weight or whatever it was. And she was like, you're setting a really bad example for young girls and talking bad about yourself. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't like. So maybe I should say nothing. Maybe that was her point, is just don't say anything about it, because we don't need to hear you saying this. But I don't want to pretend like things are good if they're not. And thankfully I do a career where I don't have to.
I also think there's something relieving in understanding and knowing that like you're not alone and not liking, like not loving yourself.
Yes. I like when I find out really perfect people are disappointed in themselves. Like Taylor Swift has depression, or gets on a scale and feels a certain way about herself. Yes. And that it's like, if she's not perfect, then maybe, and she doesn't see herself the way I see her, maybe is there a chance I don't see myself the way clearly? Could that be that I have it wrong too? It leaves an opening for that for me. When I see people that I ascribe a lot of perfection onto and they feel less than, I'm like, it used to make me go, oh, well, if you think you're bad, then what am I? I'm like, oh, she has body dysmorphia. Maybe could I have it?
That's it.
Too? Maybe because I'm always like, no, I see things clearly. Other people have body dysmorphia. I know that I am seeing and people are like, no. And I was like, okay, maybe Taylor Swift, I'm definitely not smarter than Taylor Swift. So maybe if body dysmorphia has gotten her, it could get me too.
Totally.
Maybe.
God, there's something comforting in the fact that it could be for, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're all the same.
Yes, it is. It's so comforting.
And that understanding only comes from comedy, from music, and all that kind of shit.
That's what connects us. It really does. It's like, that's emotions, I mean, is what we're talking about.
You got to watch the special. It's waiting for you on Max, okay? Someday you'll die. There's a link below. But you said you're working on your next one already?
Yeah, I want a new one.
How often can you churn these out?
I could probably do one every year, but the next one will probably be, I taped it in December, so I'd probably do it early next year, so a little over a year.
Same.
But I'm like ready to go now, but then I'll just write a bunch of new stuff. Like I could do one right now, but I want to wait for some new stuff to come out, and then but I'm so excited for the next one. I like know how to do them now in a really efficient way. I'm like, it's gonna be whatever they offer me, whatever the money is, which will be sick this next time because I've leveled up. Let me just be honest. I've been doing specials for not a lot of money for years. I mean, good money, not complaining, better than I could ever dream of. But, you know, you hear these people getting off, like Chappelle getting $60 million for 3 specials, and you go, huh? Like, I'm not looking at those numbers, but whatever number they give me next, I used to think, like, I don't even want that much money because I can't give that. I can give the next one. Like, I know what I'm doing now. I feel like I thank God I got this level at a place where I'm like, oh, I know how to work at this level and deliver.
What'd you learn that you didn't know before?
You got to work harder than you think that you do. You have to. You have to start earlier, and you have to ask for help, and you have to. And I believe in myself now more. Like I'm like, yeah, I deserve that. Like because I've done it before. I've killed it before. My last special, I feel really proud of. The special before that, I mean, I've always killed it on specials, but the last roast I did, I just came up with a system of how to talk to myself, how to train, how to mentally prepare to go in and really just crush it and like do exactly what I want to do with the help of others and just make it just, I just know how to perform at that level. It takes a lot of work, but I know what to do now. Before it was kind of like, I'll figure it out. And now I'm like, no, there's a system.
There's a method. Yeah.
There's a method.
That's the difference between good and great. And also like that's how you enter a flow state where you can really kind of do what you have to do. It's like subconscious competence, but like you need to have the right people around you to get it done.
Yes.
And you can't do it alone.
You cannot do it alone. And that's stand-up comedians are trying to do stuff alone. And everything, I would never say a joke. It's hard to write stand-up for me, but for stand-up, I'm just bringing my friends on the road now, my writer friends, just to watch my act, take notes, because I'm not taking notes.
Yeah.
All the stuff I don't like to do about the artist process, I'm outsourcing now. So they're going to take notes. Then after the show, I'm going to sit down. I am forced to sit down with them, eat my dinner, and listen to what stood out to them. And then we're going to talk about it. And like I have a system in place to like get it done. Whereas before I'd be like, let's just like eat dinner and talk about anything but my act because I don't want to like review things. And now I'm like, no.
You got to.
I have to have people around me force me to do it now.
That's so great.
So I'm just setting, boundaries for myself because I will just wait to work on something till the last minute.
But it's really interesting. Like, I understand like wanting to not watch or listen or discuss or review. Like I used to get into that mindset too. But I was at my best when I'd watch what I did and gave myself notes.
Yes. It's
a weird process, but you have to do it.
To be the best, you have to watch tape.
Yeah,
I learned that learning about Tom Brady. He watches tape constantly. He's watching other people's tape. You gotta consume comedy. It's hard to consume sometimes because I get so jealous. I'm like, God, that's so good, and I'll never be that. But you got to consume stuff you're inspired by that threatens you, that makes you want to be that good,
Motivates you.
Yeah, and makes you kind of feel like, come on, step it, like, and then you have to listen to yourself, even though it's hard. And I still struggle with that. I mean, that's why I literally have to hire people like a person would hire a sober coach. Like these people are like, they'll get their job on the road with me is to force me to do it. And I'm going to try to talk. They're my friends. So I'm going to be like, let's just like smoke a joint and like, we'll talk about it later. Let's like listen to Torture Poets and like dance around. Like I'm going to try to get them to not sit down and write so many ways, but they know that like I can't, don't let her do it. I have to have people around to keep me honest because man, do you listen to yourself? Do you listen back?
Not recently.
It's hell.
Yeah, it's bad.
But when you do, you just
great.
go, first of all, you hear things that you're like, oh, that was kind of good. And you start to and you go, oh, maybe I'm not that bad. And then you'll hear something that you don't like, but you're just like, oh yeah, I won't do that next time. Man, I've been doing that for fucking years, saying things like that. That's such an easy fix that I would never know if I didn't hear this. But you got to do it, and that's the hard. I'm so envious of narcissists who like to listen to themselves. I'm like, you have so much more potential to grow in this business because you love watching yourself. And like, I've like dated and hung out with people who are just like, you want to watch this clip of me? Like, I'm like, with you? Like, you want to you want to listen to yourself? Ugh.
And you want to know, they end up becoming very successful.
They always
and
do.
And they
because
manipulate people along the way.
That's it. Yes.
Fucking wild.
And so we have to just force ourselves to do it.
It feels good to not be a narcissist, though.
It does make me feel better that deep down I cringe at the thought of having to look or hear myself, which is so dumb because
I think there's a middle ground we'll get to.
Yeah, you still have middle ground, but like how crazy that we can't watch ourselves, but we expect everyone else to.
That's fucked up.
What the fuck?
That's mentally deranged.
That's not nice. First of all, to your listener, that you wouldn't even consume the product you're expecting them to consume. That's wild.
And by the way, there's like musicians who come on the show and they go, "I finally know I made some good music because I would bump it in my car."
Oh, that is such a good sign.
And it happens sometimes, like when they're like, "Oh, I'll listen to it," but then there's also like over listening to something.
Well, there's Kanye like
That's
forcing
crazy.
people, locking them in a room, and like making them listen to an album over and over.
Wild.
And then there's like, I remember Taylor Swift being like, someone asked her like, "Do you listen to yourself in the shower?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, that makes me feel so good because I'm listening. I'd be so sad if I sometimes am like, oh, Taylor doesn't have a Taylor Swift, but maybe she's her Taylor Swift."
Whoa.
You know? And I think that was a Kanye quote of like his biggest regret in life is that he'll never know what it's like to listen to himself or to be a fan of himself or something without being him, which is insane because he does love himself more than anyone ever could. Or I guess he really hates himself deeply. That's what narcissists do. They hate themselves. That's what it really is. But they'll never admit it to themselves because they can't. It's so fascinating.
That's something I like to like just chip away at. And
oh, you can't because narcissists, they're
Have you
locked
tried?
in. I met one on the set of this TV show I do called F-Boy Island.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the guys is such a master manipulator. He like wins every season. He just has like insane confidence. And he's an F-boy. He like comes out as an F-boy and has been one in seasons past. And he's like, I've changed the season. And like girls believe him. And I believe him every single time. And he's so charismatic. And I remember we did like these kind of fake therapy sessions. And I was like, there's people with narcissistic traits, you know, as we all diagnose people with. But you're a full-blown like personality disorder narcissist. And he was like, yeah. And like they don't find anything wrong. You can tell them anything and they're like okay with it because they don't care what you think and they're proud of who they are at such a core that nothing will shake them. You can be really mean to them actually. And they don't care. It's kind of interesting. And they're incurable, which is the best part. There's like that fascinates me because like most mental illnesses, they're hard to cure, but you can cure them because the way to cure something is to admit you have a problem. It's the first step is admitting you're alcoholic.
But they can't do it.
But they can't because what their disease is, their mental illness is that they are unable to see that they've ever done anything wrong. So it's like rabies. There's no cure for narcissism, like a pure narcissist.
I knew one, but I didn't know that there wasn't a cure.
Yeah, because they have to
That's
admit
wild.
that it's something that they should change about themselves, and they're perfect. Why would they change anything? Ooh. It's so cool. But deeply, they're very sad, and it ends really badly for a lot of them.
Oof.
And even though they succeed in business, they're really ultimately, there's a lot of bad endings for narcissists because that's what my friends have told me that have done the research. I was about to say my research, and it's like, no, just hearsay from people who have taken a Psych 101 course at a community college.
Sounds like verifiable information.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I believe it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm in.
It's like how I diagnose all my ex-boyfriends with autism because of TikTok. I'm like, yeah, they have it. Write it up like that's full blown. They're level 7, I think. What? Are there levels? It's a spectrum. I don't know.
Someday You'll Die is on Max.
Yeah, it is.
You should watch it. Or there's going to be a link below. You're fucking amazing.
You're amazing.
No,
Thank you so much for this conversation.
You're genuinely one of the greatest voices of, fucking many generations. But you're fucking amazing. So please.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're really special. And I haven't been into a comedian, honestly, this may be a little weird to admit, but like, you know, I'm of the era of like vintage Dane Cook. You know what I mean? Like Burger King era Dane Cook, Kool-Aid Man Dane Cook.
You're not wrong. Dane Cook's fucking amazing. He's one of the best comedians ever. And there was a backlash for a while. It was like cool to not like him.
Yeah.
But sorry, he's one of the best ever. He is still, but like he really tapped into his comedy is still that strong. But at that time, it was what we needed. And man, nothing's made me laugh harder in my car than Dane Cook when I was alone in my car laughing. And I am right about, like, if I know anything, it's good comedy. Dane Cook, no one can tell me he's not funny. You can say it all day. Like, you have great taste.
But like those CD, like where the fuck is like the comedy album anymore?
Yeah.
Like, that was like,
it's just specials now.
It's so different.
You're so right. I mean, people listen to comedy channels on Sirius, and I think that's where they consume a lot of like audio comedy. But no, the Sandler type albums that came out.
So many
Mitch
vivid
Hedberg.
memories of like listening to all of that on the album with my friends, like on a boombox.
Yes. You'd sit around and listen. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore.
No, and like, you're not even streaming it. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't even translated in that way.
No, when someone's like, look at me on Spotify, I go, what? There's comedy on Spotify? Like, I don't even know that there is. It's like not how I consume comedy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, watch this special. It's
well, it
waiting
means
for
a lot
Max.
to me to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're fucking amazing. Like,
Thanks,
you
Zach.
really have captured the voice of like my generation, and honestly, like your audience gets younger, so it's cool.
I hope so. You know, that makes me feel great. I'm, lots of old people like me, young people. That's so nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, all people.
Thank you to all you young folk who like me. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
I have a podcast 2 days a week, Nikki Glaser podcast. But listen to this one first.
Listen to her podcast. Watch the special, though. It's waiting for you on Max. Link below. Nikki Glaser, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're
Zach.
the best.